You know the drill. Like, share, subscribe. What else is there to do? Highlights! UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Lewis, and the main event lived up to the tagline of heavyweight collision. A little bit of a slow start there in the first round. Looking good for Curtis Blaydes, landing some leg kicks, scoring with combinations, not searching drastically for the takedown. But then things changed in the second round, and the wrestler got antsy, didn't set up his shot, and was met with one heck of a thunderous uppercut out before he touched the ground, Curtis Blaydes. And then things got a little uncomfortable. Derek Lewis following to the ground, two big right hands, square on the money. Herb Dean flying in, maybe not as fleet of foot as he once was. A little too much damage taken, for my liking, to Curtis Blaydes after the knockout, but can't overstate it. What a huge and big knockout victory for Derek Lewis, the knockout king. Now it's 12, and he has tied Vitor Belfort for #1 all-time in UFC knockouts, most knockouts ever in the UFC heavyweight division. This automatically boasts him in the rankings, taking Curtis Blaydes #2. So now you have Lewis at #2. What stands between him and a world title fight? Well, unfortunately, you still have to see how Ngannou Miocic plays out, and John Jones is ahead of you. So what's next for Derek Lewis? Well, we do have a heavyweight fight this weekend that we're going to get to in a bit, and I believe the winner of that one faces Derek Lewis, and the loser, let's just pencil him in to fight Curtis Blaydes. Make it easy in this whole heavyweight dynamic. Again, killer knockout, a great promo, a one-of-a-kind personality. Just wish that Herb Dean could have got in there a little bit quicker. It was a crazy card, and I said that for the first time ever, we saw a fighter step into the octagon and not compete. And in bizarre circumstances, Chaz Skelly makes his walk from his locker room out to the octagon, and music hits for Jamal Emmers. No, this isn't the WWE. It hits the second time. Is there a technical cue? Is there a problem? Turns out Emmers, in warm-ups and that final stretching, started to feel some back spasms. So his corner reports it. Obviously, the people at the PI there, you call in the medical team, an examination quickly, and Jamal Emmers is not able to compete. So for the first time, we see a fighter, Chaz Skelly, get into the octagon, gloves and all, ready to throw down, and he's not able to. Skelly says he's hungry to compete, but because he's even more hungry from cutting a huge amount of weight, that it may be a little bit before we see him back in the octagon, but he'd like to be back as soon as possible for his body. Late stoppages. A little bit of an issue on this card, and Chris Darcus versus Alexia was one of the examples. Darcus hurting Olenek, pinning him against the cage, and just teeing off with strikes, firing punches and knees up the middle. Olenek at one point looking to the referee, looking at Herb Dean like, man, I'm done, save me. And a couple more follow-up shots before Herb stops the fight. Chris Darcus 3-0, 3 TKOs in a row in the UFC for the Philadelphia police officer. A great start to his career, and unfortunately, a late stoppage on the referees. Alexia should have not taken that extra damage. We had a coming out party for the youngsters, the youth infusion on the night. Chris Darcus beating the 70-plus fight vet in Alexia Olenek. And then you had Tom Asplund, who kicked off the main card, submitting Andrei Arlovski. The second submission win of Asplund's career, and only the second time in his MMA career that Andrei Arlovski has been submitted. It looked as if early that Asplund's fast hands would be too much, and he was going to wore out Arlovski against the cage. Arlovski started firing back, and Asplund changed up the game, got a double leg. Arlovski quickly gave his back, and Asplund sunk that rear naked choke in for the finish. That one, not a late finish, thank goodness. A great win, though, for the young man from England. They have a true heavyweight contender there out of the UK. We capped off the prelims by talking about guys that had missed weight. Jared Gordon, unfortunately for his second featherweight fight, came in 4 pounds heavy. but was able to take the decision from Danny Chavez. I was really excited last week about the prospect of Gordon there at featherweight, and now seeing the difficulty that he had on the scale, maybe it's time he does go back up to 155 pounds. Talked about that youth infusion. John Castaneda put to sleep Eddie Weinland. I know Weinland was mad about the stoppage, but I think he got put out and put back in. He was wobbly after getting touched with a right hand, and then Castaneda swarmed, finishing Weinland in that awkward position where a guy is down getting punched and starts to get up as the ref is jumping in for the stoppage. Unfortunately, we've been seeing the last couple weeks from Overeem to Edgar to Arlovsky, Olenek, and now with Weinland, it's a youth infusion. This may be a young man's game in MMA. Little controversial stoppage. This guy thought it was too early. I felt just fine with it. Julian Erosa clipping Nate Landwehr with a big flying knee. Landwehr ate one more punch on the bottom, was woken up, coming at ref Mark Smith. Bro, why'd you stop the fight? Great call by Mark Smith. Julian Erosa, picture perfect knee. Big victory for him. Also, you have to talk about controversy with the first fight of the night. Sergey Spivak just had his way with Jared Vanderaa, taking Vanderaa to the ground and pounding the snot out of him, cutting him open early, and Vanderaa wearing a crimson mask. I swear, something like 40 to 50 unanswered ground strikes on the bottom before we saw the stoppage. Spivak, the TKO victory. A loss for the referee, though. Chris Tione, that was a bad mark. I'd rather see early stoppages than these late stoppages, than guys covered in blood and decimated and beating down. Again, this is for sport. So too many late stoppages really mar some great performances at UFC Fight Night. Blaydes versus Lewis. Lewis, the big winner of the night. Not to mention also in the co-main event, Yana Kunitskaya, proving that MMA judging is evolving. She was taken down. She was put on the bottom. Her back was taken for most of the third round. I scored the fight for Caitlin Vieira because of that positional control and dominance. Punches from every angle. Kunitskaya was able to do enough work, do enough damage, which she did do more of, to get the decision victory. And I was surprised from it just because we're used to seeing the control be the avenue of which you get rewarded in MMA. Enlightening to see that new outlook by the judges. And it's really something to be hopeful about. They're scoring fights on activity. That's great to see. The UFC was not the only MMA action in town this past weekend. There was also LFA, Legacy Fighting Alliance 100, the century mark. And I was excited for that main event. I had had the chance to talk to both Victor Altamirano and Nate Smith before they were to battle for that vacant 125-pound title. And unfortunately, coming in on 6 days' notice, Nate Smith did not make weight, so he is ineligible to win the flyweight title. Victor Altamirano, though, was able to, and Altamirano came out kicking, came out aggressive, tripling up on his left kicks. And then when the wrestler, Nate Smith, was able to go to his bread and butter, get this fight to the ground, threatening off his back with submissions, throwing strikes constantly, Altamirano was able to get back to his feet. And then the speed advantage. Altamirano, not bad defense from Smith, but the speed of Altamirano was able to cut through the defense with these quick, piercing punches. A full, complete performance from the Fort Worth fighter, Victor Altamirano, now 9-0 as a professional in the LFA, and he is your LFA flyweight champion. That was great to see. You also had Charles Johnson. It was a big right hand, stunning Carly Pangilian, and Jillian tried to get in on the takedown and instead was met with an anaconda choke. Charles Johnson, a full complete display. His striking was on point. He didn't give up the takedowns, and then he was able to answer with a submission. Knockout of the night from LFA 100. That belongs to Stephen Wynn, taking care of Jorge Juarez had came aggressively looking for the takedown. Wynn is able to stuff it. a check left hook, pawed out his jab, then bring the right cross down the pipe, perfectly on the chin. Juarez goes face down. Win comes in with a hammer fist, and reportedly, when he saw his opponent out, struck him in the back shoulder, went down face down, and hit him in the back of the right shoulder. What wherewithal from a fighter with only 8 fights to his professional record, not hitting his opponent in the head like we talked about earlier in the UFC, but just going for the finish. And then upset of the card, that one came courtesy of Tommy Aaron. Aaron coming in as the underdog against previously unbeaten Gerald Scott, and Scott was not able to get anything done. Aaron, a Tony Ferguson protege, with that relentless in-your-face pace and pressure, not to mention a plethora of spinning back kicks, eventually getting the fight to the ground and submitting Gerald with a rear naked choke. A big win for Aaron. First time we had seen him back in the LFA in about 2 years. Hot off the presses, and got some fresh news for you. Former women's bantamweight champion, number 2 ranked contender, Holly Holm will be facing number 5 ranked Juliana Pena May 8th. That's going to be on the same card where Holm's former teammates Donald Cerrone and Diego Sanchez will do battle. March 20th, the UFC has announced number 15 ranked lightweight Gregor Gillespie will be taking on Brad Riddle. April 17th, Austin Hubbard is going to be welcoming Contender Series alum Israeli submission specialist Natan Levy to the octagon. Brian Hall is out, and number 9 ranked featherweight Dan Ige is going to be facing Gavin Tucker on March 13th. May 22nd, former title challenger Felisa Spencer is going to be welcoming unbeaten Contender Series alum Daniel Wolf to the octagon. And then LFA is going to be hosting their next 3 events at the Grand Casino Hotel and Casino in Shawnee, Oklahoma. LFA 101 set for March 12th. LFA 102 set for March 19th. And LFA 103 set for March 26th. What to look forward to this weekend? UFC Fight Night. UFC Fight Night, RozenStruik versus Gane. It's an ESPN Plus exclusive. Prelim starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. Main card at 8 p.m. Eastern. Heavyweight main event. RozenStruik comes in 11-1, 10 wins by knockout. While Gane comes in 7-0, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions. And interestingly enough, both of them come in off of knockout wins over former UFC champion Junior Dos Santos. A lot of intrigue right there. Both guys incredible strikers. They hit heavily. Both guys with a striking background. RozenStruik 76-8-1 as a professional kickboxer. Gane went 18-0 as a professional Muay Thai fighter. So both guys have that striking background. As we said, Gane, 3 submissions, has adapted to the grappling aspect of mixed martial arts. He trains in France. He came up training with Francis Ngannou. RozenStruik, the only person that's knocked him out, that's touched him, that's hurt him in MMA, Francis Ngannou. I believe the winner of this fight will meet up with Derek Lewis and be just a jump away from a world title fight. The loser is probably going to meet up with Curtis Blaydes, and that person will be fighting for their life to stay in title contention and stay relevant in the division. So a lot of storyline, a lot of intrigue, and a fight that shouldn't last as long as I'm talking about it. These 2 guys should put the lights out that quick. A co-main event, that's another top 15 matchup. It's in the light heavyweight division. Number 8, Nikita Krylov. 26 of his 27 wins come by stoppage. He takes on number 11 ranked Magomed Ankilov. Ankilov 14-1, a 5-fight win streak. 4 of those wins by knockout. 9 wins by knockout overall. That's not enough for you. The main card will also see a top 10 bantamweight matchup. Number 8, Pedro Munoz. 13 of his 18 wins come by stoppage against number 9, Jimmy Rivera, who comes off of a win over fellow top 15 ranked 135-pounder Cody Stamann. Also on the main card, you're going to see number 12 ring Angela Hill, the female Donald Cerrone. She's competing for the 5th time in the last 14 months. This time it's going to be a rematch against Ashley Yoder. They fought in 2017. Hill came away with the decision victory. Opening up that main card, it's Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres against my boy Kevin Croom. Kevin Croom, we saw he has those heavy hands and good submission skills. While Bruce Leroy, we know, wants to make things pretty, wants to be in space and use his movement and then set up his strikes. Prelims, the featured prelim, a great lightweight matchup where Alexander the Great Hernandez, coming off of a vicious TKO of Chris Gridsmacher, now training out of Denver, is going to be facing Brazilian training out of Florida, Thiago Moises, who's won 3 of his last 4 and is a former RFA champion. Also look forward on the prelims to Randy Brown versus Alex Oliveira, the Jamaican versus the Brazilian, that one at welterweight. Low key, depending on how it goes, that one could be a fight of the night candidate. Not to mention 2 fights that should not last long in the light heavyweight division. Justin Jacoby meets Maxim Grisham, and William Knight versus Alonzo Menefield. The latter, Menefield versus Knight, both guys vicious first round finishers. This fight night should be fun, should be ferocious, and you should stack up knockouts all night long. This has been Cage Minds MMA Show. Thanks for watching.